Obviously, on a regular guitar, you can play single notes and chords, but it's a little less common to do that on bass. Is it possible? Can you play and learn chords on bass guitar? Of course you can. Today, I'm going to show you how. Let's go. What's up, guys? I'm Carmine and I play bass, and today we are going to learn how to play chords on bass guitar. Now, it's not the most common use of a bass guitar, but it is an awesome tool to throw in your tool belt, and it really shows how versatile the instrument of bass guitar can be. So let's jump in. Today we're going to cover major chords, minor chords, repeating shapes to strengthen your fingers, and then we're going to cover a bonus topic of knowing the right application of where to use chords on bass guitar. Before we begin, I just want to thank all the subscribers that have been hanging out and watching these videos, everybody leaving comments. I really appreciate the support. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment. And let me know if there's a topic you want me to cover in the future. I'm all ears, and I love getting new ideas and new topics from the comments. So thank you to everyone supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. A chord is a group of two or more notes played simultaneously. Together, they create a harmony, also known as a chord. Typically, you'll find a root, a third, and a fifth in there. That's a very common use of chords for major and minor chords. Now, some definitions say that a chord typically consists of 3 notes, where today we're just going to focus on 2-note chords, or dyads. And the reason for that is I really want you to internalize the difference between major and minor when playing chords. And I also want you to get used to playing chords on an instrument like this. It's a little bit different. It's not super common to play chords on bass. The strings are a little bit thicker. The frequency spectrum that it occupies is a little bit lower. Things can get a little bit muddy, and I want to start really simple to begin. So we're just going to cover dyads. In the future, we can add in a third note to create triads and so forth. Let's start with one of my favorite chords, and one of everybody's favorite chords, a major chord. Here's a major chord dyad. A major chord consists of a root note and a major third. Now, that third is hugely influential and important because it can determine whether the chord is major or minor. I'll show you later in the video how dropping that major third just 1/2 step creates a minor third. For now, we're just going to focus on the 2-note major chord. So we'll have a C as the root and an E as the major third. We'll use the middle finger for the C and the pointer finger on the E. Now, it's a fairly simple shape to play, and I'm playing it here starting on the C on the A string. But as we know, that can get a little bit muddy, so if you want to play it on the next set of strings up, that's totally fine. So now that we know this shape, the most important thing you can do from here is work on strengthening that shape and strengthening your finger dexterity in that shape. So we're going to start here, and we're just going to move this to all different positions around the neck. A good exercise of doing this can be starting somewhere higher up on the neck and just dropping down chromatically 1/2 step at a time until you get to the bottom of the neck and repeating on the next set of strings. That might not be the most musical approach. You might not play 7 or 8 major dyads in a row in a song. You probably won't. If you can find a song that does that, please let me know. That repetition is really going to help you get that muscle memory and that mind to chord connection there. And then from that point on, I would do what I always do when trying to learn something new, which is loop up either a metronome or a drum track at a medium tempo, we'll say about 80 BPM, and just mess around with that chord shape over that beat. So let's check that out. One other helpful tip here is to make sure you're stretching your fingers out and giving them a proper rest, but not taking too long in between. So say you are playing this exercise for 30 seconds. Your fingers and your fingertips might get a little bit strained. You haven't done this shape very much, and it might get a little bit trying on your hand. What I would do is I would play through that for 30 seconds or however long until it gets strained. And then I would take my hand off the fretboard and I would stretch out my fingers. You don't even have to grab them with your other hand, but you can. Stretch out your fingers, give it a little bit rest. And then as soon as you feel that strain go away and you start to feel your strength come back a little bit, jump right back into the exercise. This reminds me of doing a hamstring stretch and holding it for 10, 15 seconds. Feeling a little bit of that strain as you're going lower, and then coming back up, letting that tension release a little bit, and then going back into the stretch and going a little further. This is a great way to build up muscle memory, but really to build up strength and dexterity in that fretboard hand. Now we're going to move on to the minor dyad. So we learned the major chord and the 2-note major dyad. So all we're going to do here is we're going to have this C as the root note again, for example. And we're going to take this E right here, and we're going to move this down 1/2 step. And all that creates is a minor chord, a C minor chord. And you can do this everywhere on the fretboard. So say we move up to the E as the root, and we have the A flat there as the major third. We're just going to move that down to the G. And we have our minor chord. Once again, getting familiar with this shape, messing around with a bunch of different varieties and how you can play it, jumping back and forth between major and minor, that's all going to help you learn it and get it under your fingers a lot stronger. I typically will use the middle finger for the root and the pointer finger for the major third, but when it comes to the minor third, I'll use the ring finger for the root and the pointer finger for the minor third, and that just gives me just a little bit more space there. For uses of other chords in the future, there are ways where I play it with the middle finger and pointer finger there for the minor third, so if that's more comfortable for you, it's totally fine. It's just you don't get as cleanly fretted of a note because it's harder to have those straight. Now, I know learning just 2-note chords isn't the sexiest kind of chord you can learn, but I really want you to understand the application. So as you're practicing these and as you're playing them to songs and jamming, try to really grasp and understand the difference between the major chords and the minor chords that we're learning here. From there, you can add extra notes, higher notes on top of those chords that either strengthen what you're already playing or add another third part harmony to it, making it a more complex chord. But for now, I really want you to just grasp these 2 notes. I think it's better to understand that and understand the application to use these chords in versus just learning these complex chords that you're never going to wind up using in an actual musical context or situation. Speaking of which, what context is right for playing bass chords? Let me just say that I am not always the most traditional bass player. I'm not looking to do these lessons to churn out factory assembly line bass players who are just playing the same thing. When I use chords on bass might be a little bit different than when some other people use chords. I'm not just trying to play only the root and play it safe for an entire song, but I'm also not just trying to be a virtuoso and do something completely complex and make a solo bass album. Although that would be a really fun idea for the future. Maybe I can be convinced. I am very much a writer and composer, and I use this tool for that reason. Even if it's contributing to a live setting, I still am trying to write my parts and write my bass lines in the moment for an ensemble. So there's two major contexts that I will use bass chords in. One is going to be live with a band that's either a trio or a quartet. When someone's soloing or when there's a low key, like very vibey part of the song, I may use chords to fill out those sections. I often find that with a little bit of reverb played really gently is great in a live setting, and it kind of can supplement for a keyboardist or a guitar player that might not be playing chords in the moment. The other time that I use it is while recording. We're all looking for unique sounds nowadays, and I will often record different kinds of bass chords to sample or just to use to fill out a mix. I think that this instrument is completely underrated, and a lot of musicians don't understand the versatility that the bass guitar has to offer. So when I'm composing and when I'm writing, it's so great to use it as a unique tool that doesn't sound like anything else or doesn't sound like popular instruments that are out there. Those are the top two contexts that I will use bass chords in, and honestly, I use them on a weekly basis that way. So that's all I have for you today. There are so many amazing things this instrument can do, and playing chords is just one of them. Obviously, there are so many more harmonies and different notes and extensions you could add to the 2-note chords we learned today. It's something I'm looking at doing a video on in the future and expanding upon. If you're interested in that, please let me know. Let me know if there's any kind of chord or any kind of context of playing bass chords that you want to learn more about in the comments. To everyone who subscribes to the channel, both existing subscribers and new subscribers, thank you so much for being here and hanging around and watching the videos. The support has been incredible. I can't thank you all enough. It really means a lot. If you're new here, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and keep hanging out for more bass content and videos and discussions like this. And remember, you don't have to be the best or the fastest bass player in the world. You just have to be funky. Peace.